Newyddion a dyna sy'n edig. Dydd Gŵyl Dewi Hapus, i chi gyd gan bawb ar y team Newyddion. Welcome to Tom and Ben News United Kingdom. Happy and David stay for more of the news team. Here is our top stories today.
The Russian invasion reaches Ukraine's capital Kiev as city enters defensive phase.
100,000 Ukrainians have already been displaced following the Russian invasion.
And in other news, cocaine of the sea threatens critically endangered vaquita. More details on this soon.
Welcome to Tom and Ben News United Kingdom with the 6 p.m. news report for Tuesday, the 1st of March 2022. Noswaithar, I am Tom.
And I am Ben, and thank you for joining us on this St. David's Day. Without a shadow of a doubt, let's get into it.
Noswaithar, good evening, and just like with all the other media outlets, we start off with Ukraine, and Kiev's mayor has said that Friday night was a very difficult one after a number of blasts close to a power station were heard in quick succession.
Vitaly Klitschko said the situation now, without exaggeration, is threatening. With Russian troops nearing, bridges in the city have been taken under special control while checkpoints are being installed at strategic sites.
He added, the night close to the morning will be very difficult. The sound of gunfire has echoed through Kiev, with the mayor saying Russia is trying to put the city on its knees.
After unleashing airstrikes, Russian tanks were filmed rolling into Kiev for the first time earlier. The UK's Chief of Defence Intelligence Lieutenant General Sir Jim Hockenhall said Russia had launched a concerted series of strikes on targets in Kiev, while rocket launchers have been employed in Chernihiv and Kharkiv.
He said Russian forces continue to advance on two axes towards Kiev. Their objective is to encircle the capital to secure control of the population and change the regime. But Ukrainian forces continue to offer strong resistance.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said he had spoken with US President Joe Biden. He said they discussed strengthening sanctions, concrete defence assistance, and an anti-war coalition.
Meanwhile, a spokesman for President Zelensky said that Ukraine and Russia are discussing a time and place for talks.
Meanwhile, back here in the UK, Prime Minister Boris Johnson has told NATO leaders that the UK will impose direct sanctions on Russian President Vladimir Putin and Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov imminently.
The United Nations has estimated that about 100,000 Ukrainians have already been displaced as a result of the Russian invasion, and that number could ultimately grow to 1 to 5 million.
The international community is making preparations to meet their humanitarian needs, though perhaps not quickly enough.
Just hours after Russia's assault began on Thursday morning, local time, there were massive traffic jams, sold-out train tickets, and long lines at ATMs in Kiev as people tried to flee with little clue as to how long they might be gone or if they'll ever return.
Irina Sogayan, the Eastern Europe Director for Save the Children, which has been on the ground in Ukraine since 2014, said there is a significant movement of the population, but it is also hard to say whether people are moving permanently or for a short term.
For now, Central Europe is welcoming Ukrainians with open arms, receiving countries including Poland, which is planning to accommodate up to 1 billion Ukrainians, as well as Romania, Hungary, Slovakia and Moldova, where 4,000 Ukrainians arrived on Thursday.
But those countries aren't currently equipped to handle the volume of refugees that are likely to arrive on their borders in the coming weeks, and European and US leadership need to scramble to help build up that capacity.
As of Saturday, more than 24 nations, including the United Kingdom, other European countries and the United States, will give more weapons, medical supplies and other military aid to Ukraine as it fights the Russian invasion.
The UK has offered to conduct logistics operations to support the delivery of the donations, a defence source said. British Defence Secretary Ben Wallace organised a donor conference of military aid on Friday evening, which was held virtually.
Some 25 nations were on the call and all said they would continue to contribute aid, some saying for the first time their support will include lethal assistance. NATO was also represented.
Also, Russia is braced for a collapse in the ruble after Western governments cut much of the country's financial system off from the global SWIFT payments network and pledged to free central bank assets in the most punishing sanctions to date.
The White House said late on Saturday that the measures would send the currency into free fall and send prices in Russia soaring.
On Sunday morning, Russia's central bank attempted to reassure the country's financial system, saying it has the necessary resources and tools to maintain financial stability.
It said it would take extraordinary measures on Monday to ensure banks continued to operate.
The UK, EU, US and Canada's unprecedented set of sanctions on Saturday night in retaliation for Russia's ongoing invasion of Ukraine will isolate Russia from the international financial system and our economies, the country said.
They also added, "We will hold Russia to account and collectively ensure that this war is a strategic failure for Putin." And finally, Russian airlines face a near-total airspace blockade to the country's west after an EU official said most European countries are set to impose flight bans.
A formal decision was expected on the measure later on Sunday. Several countries had already acted, followed by Germany and Belgium, while other EU states are set to join them.
With airspace curbs over Ukraine, Russian flights now have a few route options for westbound journeys. Departure boards at Moscow's Domodedovo and Sheremetyevo airports showed dozens of cancellations on Sunday, including flights to Paris, Vienna and Kaliningrad.
Russia's S7 airline said on Facebook it would cancel flights to many of its European destinations until at least the 30th of March. Aeroflot, Russia's biggest airline, said it would cancel its services to Latvia and Romania until at least the 26th of March and its Prague and Warsaw routes until the 28th of March.
Meanwhile, Russia has responded with tit-for-tat restrictions on countries banning its flights.
To other news now, and we begin with sport. And England have survived a threatening second-half comeback to record a fifth successive home Six Nations win over Wales in an untidy game at Twickenham.
Marcus Smith's boot built a 12-0 lead by the end of the first half before Alex Dombrandt went over. Wales rallied as Josh Adams raced in and Nick Tompkins squirmed between white shirts to make it 17-12.
England will now face Ireland on Saturday at 16:45.
The inaugural Arnold Clark Cup tournament was a success for the hosts on the pitch, but were low attendances a cause of concern for England before July's European Championship?
Despite the fact all four competing nations were ranked inside the world's top 10 and Spain fielded Ballon d'Or winner Alexia Putellas, the 6 matches attracted an average crowd of just 6,300.
That figure is skewed somewhat too. England were the only nation who had a crowd of more than 1,000 at all of their games.
The Lionesses were well supported in their opening game against Canada in Middlesbrough during Storm Eunice. They had more than 8,700 in attendance, while the draw with Spain attracted 14,284 to Callow Road.
England's historic win over Germany on home soil also attracted 13,463, but the matches between the other three nations were barely watched.
Head coach Marcelo Bielsa has been sacked by Leeds United after a run of poor form that saw his side suffer several heavy defeats.
The 66-year-old Argentine appointed in June 2018 leaves with the Whites 2 points above the relegation zone.
Under Bielsa, Leeds finished 9th last season on their return to the Premier League after a 16-year absence.
Everton boss Frank Lampard said his 3-year-old daughter would have known his side should have had a penalty for handball in their 1-0 defeat by Manchester City.
A loose ball hit Rodri's outstretched arm in the box in the closing stages. Referee Paul Tinnery did not give a penalty and the video assistant did not think it was an obvious error.
Lampard told the BBC that there is not a person who watches that can't see that's a penalty, and that is the sport.
And finally, the cocaine of the sea is threatening critically endangered vaquita.
The vaquita marina is found only in Mexico. It is the most critically endangered sea mammal on the planet. Its survival threatened by a deadly clash of interest between fishing and conservation. Scientists estimate there may be fewer than a dozen left in the wild.
The marine explorer Jacques Cousteau called the Sea of Cortez, also known as the Gulf of California, the world's aquarium.
Forecast for London, showers and 11 degrees is the high and a low of 7.
Forecast for Cardiff, showers and 8 degrees is the high and the low of 4.
Looks like it's Scotland's turn to have the sunshine. For Edinburgh will have sunshine and the top temperature will be 9 degrees and the low of 2.
And finally, forecast for Belfast. Partly cloudy, 10 degrees is the high, and a low of 4.
That's all today. Thank you for watching. Have a nice day. Please subscribe and see you next Saturday. And if you are watching us from Wales, we wish you a happy, peaceful and safe St David's Day.
A Dydd Gŵyl Dewi Hapus i chi gyd gan bawb ar y tîm newyddion. Diolch yn fawr a hwyl fawr.